Man, this is Dion Dawkins, man, and you're listening to The Scoop on OwlScoop.com. You already know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Scoop, OwlScoop.com's podcast, Season 9, Episode 23. I'm OwlScoop.com editor John DeCarlo. I'm with Declan Landis, Remy Vaughn, and Johnny Zwizlak. This week, Kyle Gals could not be with us this week. Hopefully, we'll have him back next week. Got a great show ahead for you guys. We have an interview with Temple guard Jahlil White, talking to him about, of course, the tough loss that they're coming off of this weekend down at ECU. The Owls have lost 6 in a row, certainly not playing great basketball. He's going to talk to you guys. Will hear him talk to me about what they need to do to win this weekend down at Tulane, what they need to do to snap this 6-game losing streak, and just some of the ups and downs, more downs they've had this season in Adam Fisher's first season. Got some football talk ahead for you, some good mailbag questions to get to, some women's hoops as well. The Scoop, as always, is brought to you all by Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured while on the road or the highway and the crash was someone else's fault, the insurance company is not going to be on your side. You need us, Temple Law grads, who will fight hard to get the compensation that you deserve. We only get paid if we win. So in Pennsylvania or New York, call us today at 215-261-7359. That's 215-261-7359. And you can find them on the web at greenspans-law.com. That's greenspans-law.com. Gentlemen, it's our Michael Jordan episode, so he doesn't count in the numbers game. I feel like we need to refocus. We were having way too much fun before we started recording.
Yeah, just a little bit, you know. We got to get our mind on the task here.
Refocus. Not when you look at me like that and like put your hand in the task here.
I mean it. We got to get on track, you know.
You were very stern. You just,
you know,
the way you chopped your hand down.
Thank you.
That's the best way to be. Very direct.
Have you guys ever heard the term, I like the cut of your jib?
No.
No?
You're going to have to explain that one.
I have.
You're going to have to explain that
Declan,
one.
what does it mean? Chelsea asked me to, I think she texted me yesterday while she was at work, and she said, you know what phrase needs to make a comeback, and it's that. And she's like, do you think you could incorporate it into the Scoop? And I said, I'll try. I said, will you listen to the podcast if I do? She's like, yeah, if you do. So this is me incorporating it. One more listener.
You didn't even try to sneak it in either.
No, I didn't.
Very
didn't.
just abrupt.
I want to be transparent.
Didn't you just say, you know, best way to do it, be direct?
You're right.
That's
You're right.
exactly
What does it mean, Declan? You know what it means?
I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah.
I just like how you operate. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the way that
There
you
we go.
Yeah, you do things.
There we go.
Okay. I've never heard that before once in my life.
I felt like you could have snuck that in somewhere.
Oh, I definitely could have. I just wanted to throw a 75-mile-per-hour fastball right down the plate. Just
I appreciate that.
Johnny, if you could maybe incorporate it into our class Thursday night, that'd be great.
I'll try. I think I could find a way.
Yeah?
It's
Yeah.
too bad that you've already done your media critique. You could be like, I like the cut of this guy's jib. You know, as you're
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
talking about your article.
What sort of voice was that? That was like 1987 mechanic from Detroit.
Hey, I like the cut of this guy's jib.
Oddly specific.
I like the cut of this guy's jib.
Did you have a person in mind when you gave that example?
That's something I like, Beverly Hills Cop or something
I was
like
thinking
that.
Tommy Boy.
Yeah. A lot of good lines from this movie.
A lot of good lines.
from
A lot
the
of good
movie.
lines.
Yeah. How you guys doing otherwise?
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be back.
Pretty good.
You just openly on the pod. That's crazy.
I love
That's
you.
crazy.
I love you.
That's crazy.
You make with like the pause sound, which I do too. I don't know.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I know.
That's
I just had to take a second to think about it.
Yep. Declan, I'm here.
Chilling. Hanging in.
Chilling.
Hanging in. Big weekend this weekend.
Yeah.
What makes it a big weekend?
I am putting the old commentator microphone on again. And I am broadcasting.
Is this thing on, ladies and gentlemen? Is this thing on?
Welcome in, folks at home. But no, I'm broadcasting the SL24 Memorial Classic in Wilmington, Delaware, which is really near and dear to my heart. So I'm very excited.
And who are you going to watch this weekend?
I am going to watch Aiden Tobiason up
You
close
sure
and
are.
in person for the second time.
Yeah.
Well, second time at least since he's committed to Temple. So
Signed with Temple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Johnny
excited.
Ramir, you guys are going too?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
We'll be
So we'll
there.
have some Aiden Tobiason content on the pod next week.
Oh yeah. And tune in. Watch the classic. It's gonna be
Yes.
really cool.
And
It's always a really cool tournament every year.
you'll get to hear Declan's beautiful voice.
Play-by-play or color?
Not sure. Whatever they tell me to do.
Yeah.
So I've been getting my notes ready all week.
Are you going to be wearing a suit to the game?
I do not really have a suit at this moment. We
Yeah.
might go shopping in between, but the plan right now is quarter zip shirt tie.
You can't go
Classic.
wrong with Q-zip.
I love a QZ.
QZ.
I love the
QZ.
QZ I have right now.
QZ.
Yeah, big QZ guy.
The quarter zip is the official game day outfit of OwlScoop.com. When you're
And
covering
it,
football
nothing. It's like a distant second after that.
game. Yeah. Ramir had the
Yeah.
best quarter zip of the season.
The white one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we picked that up actually. That was the Primark one, right?
Yes.
That was like $12.
22, I think.
Oh, never mind. not as cool of a story.
What's that thing, $5?
not as cool of a story now.
I almost didn't get it.
But he did.
But you're glad you did.
I
You
am.
wowed everybody in the press box. So
did?
quarter zip,
That was a
shirt and
successful
tie.
trip. Quarter zip shirt tie. Probably nice little purple shirt, gray tie,
There you go.
black QZ.
Okay.
There
That's
you
my
go.
favorite outfit. I like that outfit a lot.
You have a second favorite outfit?
Not really.
No.
I like. Actually, that's not true. I have it's a Shaq polo, like the Shaq brand JCPenney polo, but it's like this knit sweater
You
type
do
polo.
love that knit sweater. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and black pants.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
a big
I kn-
monochrome guy.
I had no idea that Shaq had his own clothing line until you told me.
Shaq has everything.
Yes.
Shaq, wherever there's money to be made, Shaq is there, and I respect the heck out of him for it.
Now you guys are going too.
Yes.
Have you planned out your outfits for the weekend?
I mean, they're just going to watch basketball.
Yeah, I was more going for the experience and the see Aiden play again. But I mean, maybe we could just make it a quarter zip trio and just.
We could. We do have a party to go to after
true.
we go,
Ooh.
and I was debating on whether or not I was going to dress for the party or dress for, just to watch basketball.
What kind of
But
what kind of party? Like, how are you going to dress for the party?
It's our friend's birthday,
Okay,
so we're going after when we come back.
there you go. Famous number 23s, guys.
LeBron James.
Yes.
Rodney McLeod.
Ooh, that's a good one.
The Eagles could have
Patrick Chung.
Is this naming defensive backs that the Eagles could have used this year?
James Butler.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we talked
yeah.
about that.
Colts?
That's not Jimmy Butler.
No.
That's James Butler.
James Butler. That's funny.
The Eagles had a running back in the late 80s or early 90s or mid 90s named Heath Sherman, who I believe was number 23.
Sometimes I think you're making these up.
Yeah.
Look it up, Heath Sherman.
No, I don't look up the numbers ahead of time.
Why would I? Yes, you do. Absolutely. And not only do you look them up ahead of time, sometimes you look them up in real time.
Irrelevant.
Oh, I got one. I know I wasn't alive in 1965, but Don Drysdale came to me.
There's footage of everything, John.
Went back and-
Except Wilt's 100-point game.
Oh well.
No,
Yeah.
it's definitely footage of everything except
No, yeah. That's kind.
Come on now.
It is kind of crazy.
Come on now, wake up, sheeple.
sheep.
Oh boy. What other 23s?
Kenny Moore wears 23. Colts nickel corner.
I'm trying to think. I can't.
Should we do some trivia?
Let's do some trivia.
Yeah.
I'm much better at that than thinking on the spot.
I'm thinking of a guy. I cannot remember if he wore 23.
Well, we're off the hot start here.
No. According to our favorite website, he wore number 23. But I can't. Yeah, shoutoutranker.com.
No free shout-outs.
I guess he wore this number later in his career. A former NFL running back, insanely infectious personality, very funny, known for eating candy.
Marshawn Lynch.
I thought he was
wore it with the
24.
Bills. He wore it with the
Did he wear?
Bills.
He wore with the. He
Oh,
wore with
his,
the
like,
Bills,
early
or did he
career.
wear it with the Raiders?
No, he wore 23 with the Bills.
Okay.
After he was drafted.
No, that's weird. I only see him as a 24.
Yeah.
Former Phillies manager. He was a much better player, Hall of Famer, but not a Hall of Fame manager.
Catcher?
No, the Phillies traded him away very early on in his career.
Oh. Ryan Sandberg.
Yes, Ryan Sandberg.
Oh.
Can you spell his first name?
RYNE.
There you go.
Come on now.
There you go. A guy who was an Eagle for a day.
Frank Gore.
Frank Gore. A man who spoke at Temple University earlier this fall.
Good thing I go to the speaker series.
Former player, former manager.
Oh,
Player and manager. Of
it was
what?
not this year.
Don Mattingly.
Oh, it was last
That
year.
was last year.
Oh.
That's
My
the one I
apologies
went
to
to.
Don Mattingly.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I was at that. I heard it was awesome.
Yeah.
Unibrow.
AD.
Anthony Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Rejected by Anthony Davis. I love that commercial.
I'm gonna go with. Oh, I'm just looking down the list here. I'm trying to think of ones that you guys could get.
That's crazy.
Try us.
That's
we
crazy.
may know more than you.
Yeah.
We lead.
I don't like to be limited.
Older
like
baseball
that.
player hit a home run that was referred to as the shot heard around the world.
Oh.
Oh God.
You got me. I'm cooked.
Oh my God.
I can picture the call.
The Giants win the pennant. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Bobby Thompson.
Bobby Thompson.
Would have never got that.
I'm sorry, Claire, if you're listening.
Yeah, you've let down Claire Smith.
Yeah, I should have known
Former
that.
Texans running back.
Adrian Foster.
Yes,
Arian
Arian
Foster.
Foster. Yep. Well, another former Eagles player, much better than Heath Sherman. Former
Another
Eagles
running back?
defensive player.
Okay. No.
This guy tormented me in my first year on the Eagles beat. Loved to haze me and tease me.
Oh.
I remember the stories.
5-time Pro Bowl selection. Eagles Hall of Fame inductee. A Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner.
Really?
He is now an NFL executive.
Troy Vincent.
Yes, Troy Vincent.
I can
There's
imagine a young
there's some
Ryan
hockey
there.
players here that only
Angry.
Pat Egan would care about. We'll go one more. I'm going to give you guys one more before we move on to the rest of the pod here. One more, number 23. We've got some to choose from. Do this one for Kyle. Former Atlanta Brave.
Cooked.
Played from 1989 to 2002.
Oh, no.
The National League Rookie of the Year in 1990. He was an ALCS MVP in 2000 for a different team. Left-handed hitter. Was with Halle Berry at one point.
Oh.
I don't know.
Dave Justice.
I wouldn't have
I
got
think
that.
that's
Yeah, I have no idea who that is. I'm sorry.
One last one. This guy was arguably the greatest return specialist of all time.
Devin Hester.
Yeah,
Devin
Hester.
Hester.
Oh.
Very good. Very good.
I always trade for him in Madden.
Is a must.
Yeah, Madden
Yeah.
13.
It's a must.
Get a stop on defense, get a punt return touchation.
Mhm.
Offense don't see the field.
Yeah.
Nope. EJ Warner, my quarterback.
Mhm.
The New York Giants.
It's quite a lineup.
Yeah, it is. It
no
was
good no good
yeah.
segue out of that one.
Oh.
We did promise you.
It's okay.
We promised you guys an interview with Jahlil White at the outset of the show. Had the chance to catch up with Jahlil not long after Temple's 6th loss in a row. Of course, a tough one for the Owls this weekend down at ECU. Jahlil, before that game, had probably been playing, I would think, probably his most confident stretch of basketball in a while, but went scoreless in that game. Temple had a chance to win this game, of course. If you're a Temple fan, you know they had a chance to win it at the buzzer. Heisler Miller missed a layup. Did not play well in overtime. They missed all 5 of their threes. So, yeah, the rough times for the Owls right now. They've lost 6 in a row. It could be some rough times ahead. But Jahlil and I talked about this season, going back a little bit to his career and his life, what got him started in basketball. So we'll play this interview for you, and we'll have more for you on the other side.
Jahlil, obviously you guys are coming off a tough game Saturday, the 70-64 overtime loss. Beyond the obvious stuff, just like what went wrong for you guys in that game? What got away from you? I know you were dealing with foul trouble, but what were some of the things that you guys go back and look at that game and say, man, that got away from us?
We watched film this morning on that game, and it was all the little things. Like, it was really a Temple beat Temple game. It was like our turnovers, our free throws on the road are big, so we got to be able to make free throws on the road especially. Being smart, making the right decisions down the stretch, that's pretty much it, just the small things. Rebounding, free throws, and making the right decisions.
And just for you personally, was it the foul trouble that got you off track? I mean, that was you held scoreless, didn't get a shot off. Did that get you off track more than anything?
Yeah. Being in foul trouble, I mean, I wasn't able to be out there as much as I wanted to and would have been if I wasn't in foul trouble. So Yeah, that really threw my game off. I would say I have to be smarter. I gotta know that the refs know I'm an aggressive defender and they're gonna call ticky-tack fouls on me. So I just gotta approach the game in a smarter mindset.
That's probably easier said than done, though, right? Like, you've always been a good defender, but a lot is asked of you defensively on this team. Again, is that easier said than done to say, look, I want to be aggressive, but I have to be smart about it? How do you pull that off?
Yeah, I mean, it's a million times easier said than done because the way I play, all I know is go hard, like just be aggressive and things will turn out the right way. So it's definitely an adjustment that I have to make, but it's definitely easier said than done, and I feel like it's going to be hard. And I mean, I can do it though. Just take a deep breath and calm down a little bit. Things will be all right.
Say prior to this weekend, you're probably playing, I would think, maybe your best and maybe your most confident stretch of basketball since you've been here. 9 out of 12 games in double figures, and in the games you were healthy. Did you feel like that was like your most confident stretch of basketball in a long time?
Yeah and no. Like, as much as it may look like from the outside that I'm playing my better basketball, I'm more confident, it's not nowhere near as where I know I can play at, and I know the level that I can reach, like, with this game and what I know I have in me. So, like, yeah and no to that question.
It looks like in this offense, you look, at least from the outside looking at, you look more confident driving to the rim. You look more decisive in terms of what you want to do, when you want to do it, whether it's like, it seems like you're taking elbow jumpers that you wouldn't have taken last year and stuff like that. Do you feel a little bit more confident in that way, where you kind of feel like you know what you want to do and when you want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, that all comes from experience. I feel like the game is 10 times as much slowed down this year as it was before, and it all comes from experience and just learning from each game and getting better.
It looks like, just like you don't have the wrap on your finger anymore. Does it feel about as close to 100% as it's going to feel at this point?
Yeah, my finger. I did play with the wrap on last game, but I feel I won't be playing with it anymore. So yeah, it feels 100% and as strong as it should be, back to normal.
Originally, when it first happened, it was you're going up and trying to get your hand caught on the rim, right?
Yeah, I went for an alley-oop, and the ball actually hit my finger, and then I came, like, when on my way down from the alley-oop, I grabbed the rim. And I came down, and I just looked at my finger, and it was dislocated. I didn't really feel it, but, like, I just looked at it, and I just started freaking out, and I pulled it back into place.
Was that the first time that ever happened to you?
No, it actually happened to my pinky, my other hand's pinky, last year.
What's that like when you look down at your hand and you're like, oh, like that's pretty horrifying to see? Is it kind of, like you say, you're freaking out? Is that weird when you're on the court and you have to keep it together? Or?
Yeah, it's definitely a hard thing to do. It's scary, honestly. Like, you just look at your finger like, holy crap, like, it's crooked.
And then when you re-aggravate it, how tough is that? We were like, okay, I just felt like I was getting back in the swing of things. And when it happens again, what's the mental part of it like? We're like, okay, is this going to keep happening?
That part's a struggle. I feel like the mental part of it is the hardest part. Like, just having doubts some days, like, am I just going to be fully healthy one day or not? Like, it's just, you definitely have your days mentally with injuries like this.
All things considered, though, feeling pretty good now, about as good as this felt.
No doubt.
Looking ahead to this weekend, Tulane's been kind of like an up and down team. I mean, they beat Memphis, they played FAU tough, and then they've lost their last two. Kevin Cross is a really good player. I know you guys don't want to give away the game plan, but I have to imagine he might be your defensive assignment, with you being probably the team's best defensive player. And what do you look at so far? Have you guys looked at a ton of film on them, or is it more just working on your own stuff before you get into them?
No, we haven't even looked at anything on them yet. We will tomorrow in practice, but no, we haven't looked at that. But, I feel like they're a very beatable team. They're really good. I mean, their offense is top 20 in the country right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty hard to slow them down, but I feel like it's a very capable thing to do.
I don't want to say the defense is an afterthought for them, but they definitely thrive off of getting as many possessions, as many shots up. They feel like they're still, from what you've seen and been able to see, like they're doing some of the same stuff, same approach.
Yeah, same exact Tulane. Try to run it up on offense, and their defense is just like a weird zone man, like pass-off switch. It's like, yeah, they don't really put as much. They're just not on the defensive side of things as much as their offensive side.
Do you feel like you guys are used to seeing a lot of that, though, like some form of zone and saying, okay, these guys have struggled with shooting, we're just going to try to zone them up and see if they can get us out of it and force us out of it?
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know the exact amount of games, but a lot of games this year, teams have went zone on us to try to switch it up for us.
Adams talked about after a loss, like, again, nobody likes to lose. He keeps saying the message to the team is stick together. Again, beyond the obvious stuff, like, what does that look like to you guys? You're one of the veterans on this team, guys like you and Hyseer. When he says, like, stick together, again, probably easier said than done. You guys are on a 6-game losing streak. Nobody likes to lose. But what does that look like inside the locker room in practice when he says stick together and not getting too down? Like, if you had to walk fans through that, what's it like when you're kind of weathering a losing streak and you can't let yourself get too down?
I feel like it's like just keeping the energy positive, because it's easy for things and guys to just turn on each other because things aren't going our way. But that's something that you don't see with this team. Like, we're 100% together. We all believe in each other, and we believe that we're a lot better than what we've been showing, and we are. And I feel like as long as we continue to stay together, continue to cheer each other on, be great teammates, be great friends on and off the court, we're going to be all right. That's what staying together is for me, just being a good friend and teammate on and off the court.
Is that something that's kind of come with Adam and his staff? Does it feel a little different this year?
Yeah, it definitely feels a little different, for sure. Having a whole new staff and basically a whole new team, yeah.
Everybody knows you guys want to be winning more than you have, but if you had to describe the culture of the program right now to somebody, what would you say?
A tough, gritty, hard-working, defensive-minded program. That's how I see Temple. That's like when I hear Temple, that's what comes to my mind. Just really gritty, tough, like that Philly toughness, like, and defensive-minded.
Adam hasn't been afraid to show his emotions. I mean, at one point he takes his suit jacket off and throws it, and whether it's he gets frustrated over a call or something like that, and he'll kind of say, maybe I need to dial that back. But you can tell he's emotional and he wants it. It seems like he wants it just as badly as you guys do. Does that kind of rub off on you guys sometimes?
Yeah. We see how much this game impacts Coach emotionally, physically, mentally. He's a very passionate guy, and he loves what he does, and it definitely rubs off on us because we want to be there to back his every step. So we see him being passionate is going to pass down to us.
We've talked a bunch of times, but I don't know if we've gone as far back. What's your earliest basketball memory? When did you start playing the game growing up? What got you into it?
The group of friends that I had, we were all athletes. We all played on the same teams, football, basketball, track. It was all just like the same little group. And the first memory that I can remember is probably playing AAU with my CMC elite team. We had a bunch of really good guys down there, and that was just the most fun I had during basketball. That was like the time when I saw like higher competition, started playing. I was playing up a age level, so started playing up, and I really started to. And at that time, I was like a 5. I was taller than everyone, so I played the 5, and I feel like that's when I really started to grow and take the next step.
Yeah, when did you hit that? When did you hit that growth spurt? When did you get to be as tall as you were?
So when I was really young, I want to say around the ages. I don't know. I can't even tell you age, but so when I was really young, I was always the tallest, and then everyone caught up to me. And then around 8th grade, 9th grade, I hit another growth spurt, and I was just taller than most kids, except Taj.
People used to say obviously Temple was recruiting Taj first time around. He ends up here now. But I feel like people around that program were saying, hey, Josh's got a really well-rounded game. Like, his best basketball is ahead of him. Did that kind of was that kind of the vibe around you to do? Did you always kind of feel like that confidence, my best basketball might be ahead of me at this point?
At what point?
In high school, I feel like a lot of people, when you committed and you signed, a lot of people were saying, hey, Aaron got a sleeper here. And obviously you got hurt. A lot of people were saying, hey, if you didn't hurt your knee, you might have even picked up some more offers and all that stuff. When you start hearing stuff like that, did that kind of start to instill you with a little bit more confidence in saying, wow, there could be some really good days ahead for me in this game?
I always had the mindset, I always had the confidence and knew where I stood and what my capability was. So, no, hearing the outside stuff didn't really affect or impact my confidence because I knew what I had. So, no, not really.
When you were growing up in Whitesboro, not far from the shore, how did you end up at Wildwood Catholic? Did you always know you were going there? Did you have a few schools kind of vying for you and saying, hey, come here, come play for us?
So, like I said, it was like a group of kids that we all played the same sports together. And the older guys, they they took their talents to Wildwood Catholic, and those were the guys that I was looking up to at the time and wanted to continue to play with. So that's how I ended up at Catholic. Guys like Caleb Fields, Charles Fields, even Jalen Freeman. He transferred out his freshman year, but Jalen Freeman, all those guys ahead of me.
You know, I texted back and forth with you about this. Like a few weeks ago, I got a chance to go back. Steve DePatry is a good friend of mine, the Wildwood Catholic girls basketball coach. And after the game, we got to catch up because he used to coach at Sacred Heart, and I covered his teams out there. And he was just bringing me around and introducing me to people. And you can see how well respected you are there. As Steve was introducing me, saying, "Oh, John, you know, he runs OwlScoop and he works at Temple too." I'm like, "Oh, how's John doing?" First words out of their mouth. What was the atmosphere like around there? And why do you think people? I know you're a pretty humble guy, but why do you think people speak that highly about you? Everybody wanted to know how you're doing. How's he doing? Is he feeling better? Is he going to play this week? Everybody wanted to know how you were doing. It was cool to see, and they were just asking about you as a person as well. You can tell that you had a really good impact on people there. Why do you think that was? What was it like there for you?
I feel like down there, some of the things that they would always say about me was I was a good kid and I was respectful. I was respectful. So I feel like with stuff like that, if you give respect, you're gonna get respect, and that's always what I try to do. Growing up, be a respectful kid. That's something that my parents instilled in me, and everyone saw that. They saw how good of a kid I was. My support system, my humbleness, my confidence, and just being a good person to everyone. That's what I tried to do growing up, and I feel like that's why they have that love for me down there.
And then Steve brought me over to Patrick Flynn, a longtime police officer over there, and he's like, "Oh my God, I've been working out with Josh since he was this X amount of years old." What was it like? Is he one of the guys that got you into the game and was working out over there?
Yeah. Flynn was my guy for sure. He definitely took a great care of me. We would get in the gym every single day, working out for at least 2 hours. He'd take me home, pick me up to get me to the gym, and he was a Wildwood Catholic guy, so. Yeah, I felt comfortable making that move with him by my side too. So.
When did you start to know when you were younger that, like, even before your AAU days, did you know at a certain point, like, "Oh, I've got a chance. Like, I really want to do this." Like you said, you could have been a football player, did track. When did you know that that basketball was gonna be your sport, and you might have had a chance to be a D1 player?
That decision was made my 8th grade year. I would say it was one of the hardest decisions that I've ever made in my life because football I was best at. I just didn't love it as much as basketball. I didn't enjoy it as much as basketball. So 8th grade, Wildwood Catholic doesn't have a football team, so I had to make my decision to go to my public school, which was Middle Township or Wildwood Catholic. And
so you could have been like an ex-receiver at Middle Township. Were they trying to get you there to play football?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, for sure. But they wanted me over there for basketball more than football.
Right. Was it just as simple as like, I love basketball more and that's why I want to do it?
Yeah, a little bit of that, and like after football games, my body would just be like hurting. I was tired of getting hit in football, honestly. So,
what position did you play? Where you
played running back, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive end, middle linebacker. I was really one of them in football.
Sheesh. And how tall were you as a running back?
At least 6'4", 6'3".
Yeah, you don't see too many 6'4" running backs out there. I was
just bigger than everyone. Faster, a little bit stronger than everyone.
You're probably getting hit because you're 6'4" and you're not like lower to the ground. You get like, do you feel like your hips were exposed and your ribs were exposed and all that? Is that part of where the pain was coming from?
Yeah, most definitely. And after games, I would have like these lumps on my arm from like helmets just hitting my forearms constantly. It was a lot.
What will it take ultimately for you guys to like get out of this losing streak here? And again, I know you guys are frustrated and want to get things turned around. And I'm sure it feels like at times like you guys are close. You play some really good stretches of basketball, and like you said, it'll be like a missed defensive assignment or like a missed foul shot or something like that. What do you think is going to help you guys turn the corner?
Just continue to get better, figuring out how to win games. If you look at our last couple games, it's us beating ourselves. We have the lead, we put ourselves in position, and we somehow lose the game. But it's just keeps taking steps to get better and just trust the process. Continue to stay together and stay in the gym, and things are going to go our way eventually.
Are there guys on the staff beyond Adam Fisher that you like working out with, that you've connected with, whether it's Bobby, Michael Huger, Chris? I mean, Chris you've known for a long time. He recruited you. Or Lynn or Khalif Wyatt, any of those guys that they've kind of formed a special relationship with that have helped you out?
Yeah, no doubt. I would say, I've formed a special relationship with my entire new staff, honestly. Lynn Greer, I knew him a little bit. I knew him a lot before Coach Fisher and them because I grew up with his son, basically. So I grew up playing against Lynn, so I've been New Lynn. Coach Huger, a great guy. I built a relationship with him. But the person I would say I built a relationship the most with is Jahlil White. We get in the gym every day before practice, after practice, and just seeing him play when I was younger, he's someone that you look up to and you want to come to Temple for, and he's a great mentor.
I think he knew eventually it was a compliment. People would say he has an old man's game, the way he was shot fake and all that stuff. But does he let his personality shine through with you guys? Because he's really funny too. Like even on the court when he played here, he was funny. The referees used to laugh at him.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Leaf is hilarious. Well, it's funny you say that because he's really a funny guy, and it's his personality. It's just who he is. He doesn't know no better.
What is he like about your game? What does he want to get more of out of you when he talks to you?
Confidence, shooting the ball, my playmaking. Yeah, that's what we work on the most: passing and just shooting.
You guys have two really good players coming in next year, Dillon, Battie, and Aiden, Tobiason. How much did you get a chance to be around those guys on their visits, and how much do you get the chance to watch them or just see clips of them? It looks like they look like two really good ball players and have a really good senior season. They look like guys that could step in right away and help you guys. Yeah,
both of those guys have really high potential. I would say I didn't get to spend as much time with Aiden as Dillon, but yeah, Aiden's a great kid. His energy is really bright, and he has good size and can really knock the three ball down. And Dillon, that's my guy. He was I had him on his visit, and we just clicked. Like, he's a really cool kid, athletic. He's a dog. Like, if you follow him on social media, you see like he just had 41 points in 9 minutes or some crazy stuff like that. Yeah. So that's really impressive. They both have a bright future ahead of them. Honestly.
How much does a player like, I mean, obviously Aiden can help you, but to be playing alongside someone like Dillon in the front court and having a piece like that, I mean, there are some people think that he comes in and has a chance to be as good an athlete as anybody in the league right away. How much do you think he'll help and just take some pressure off of what you're asked to do because you're asked to do so much?
I feel like he'll help a lot. He has great size, great feel for the game, really smart, and he's super athletic. So at this level, those are some things that you really need and to be successful. And I feel like he has all the tools. He just has to put it together now at this level.
When you have a lot of basketball left ahead of you. When it's done, however far like your career takes you, whether it's the NBA, overseas, do you ever think about what you want to do after basketball? Like what else you're passionate about? What you want to do?
Yeah, I wanna be an agent. I want to be an agent at some point in my life after basketball. That's the plan for right now.
So you might want to go to law school or something like that?
Yeah, for sure.
What made you want to get interested in that?
My friend, he's actually going through that process right now, and we're having a conversation about it. And it's a very doable thing, and I feel like I'll enjoy it.
You'll constantly be tied to your phone and
just having the connections that I have now, being able to market my players and other just people,
Thanks again to Jahlil White for joining me on the Scoop this week. Again, Temple's 8-13 overall, 1-7 now in the American after that 70-64 overtime loss at ECU. Hyser Miller, as I said before the interview with Ja, missed that layup that would have, of course, won at regulation. They're playing at Tulane Sunday at 4 p.m. We'll see if they get Steve Settle back. He's missed the last 2 games with what's been called a non-COVID illness. Again, they shot poorly at ECU, 2 for 10 in overtime, missed all 5 of their threes. They turned it over 14 times. You could say that maybe Quante Berry and Emmanuel Akpomo were some bright spots off the bench. But otherwise, hasn't been going well. You can see where there are just some talent outages on the floor, I would say. Just sometimes where you can just see where they need help at certain positions. Tulane, as we're looking ahead to that game, Tulane's 12-8 overall, 3-5 in the league. They've lost 2 in a row. They've had a weird season. They've been very much up and down. If you look at a common opponent, they routed Rice. Then they only lost to FAU by a point. They upset Memphis earlier this month, but then they lost to UTSA and Charlotte in these last 2 games. Charlotte's an understandable loss. They're playing really well. UTSA, not a great loss for them. We'll see how the Owls handle them on the road. Speaking of a team that's been up and down, Temple's back on the upswing. Diane Richardson's women's basketball team, they're hosting Wichita State Wednesday night. So when this drops, whether it's Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, you might be hearing this on Wednesday morning, so we might say tonight. Wichita State's 6-15 overall, 2-7 in the conference. So again, this is a game that Temple should win, but we've said that before, and they lost to Memphis. So Temple's coming off an 18-point win at Tulane, pretty dominant win down there. And you look at some of the numbers, they're 7th in the nation in offensive rebounds per game, 13th in turnover margin, and they're first in the conference in assist to turnover ratio. Those are good stats to have that typically speak to effort, speak to discipline, and speak to just, resiliency. And yet they've still had these stretches where Diane Richardson says, I was embarrassed by our effort. We need to work harder on the defensive end. And I feel like I'll ask you guys the same question. Does this stick? Again, we're not expecting them to go undefeated the rest of the way, but do we have reason to think, again, like they should beat Wichita State? Have they learned enough from the last time around when they were supposed to beat Memphis, played a bad game, mental lapses down the stretch? This team has kind of seesawed back and forth. But again, you look at some of those numbers and they tell a partially good story. Again, feel like a broken record, but do they turn the corner this week and win a game? Not to say this would be a big defining win, but have they started to learn from past mistakes?
See, it's tough because after the Memphis game and then they won their next game, I was like, yes, like that was like good teams have bad games, like it happens. And then they lose to Tulsa in that mind lapse where Tyrese hits that 3 but didn't get it off in time. And I want to say yes, like they're going to turn it around, like they're going to be the team that destroyed Wichita State and seemed like they were going to go on and like move up in the American Conference and be the great team that like we've said before that we think they can be. But like it's hard for me because when they have these mind lapses and they have these moments, it's hard for me to say like yes, they're 100% going to turn the corner and be that team that we think they can be. But I do think they'll beat Wichita State on Wednesday. I mean, after that, the way they beat them last time.
And I think I asked this, but like, did they talk about like why? Again, any team is capable of having lapses, of underestimating opponents, but why is it happening with this team? Because again, like some of those stats really strike me, like they do rebound well. And when the effort is there, it's really there. And in some categories that count, it's not like they're like a high scoring team that also like just doesn't care about rebounding or doesn't care about taking care of the ball. Like there's some weird numbers that don't add up. Part of it, again, just might be the fact that like Diane's a year and a half into her tenure at Temple. But why do those lapses happen?
I really don't know. I mean, it seems like it comes down to the defense. Like when it comes down to how they're communicating and how they're able to turn their defense into offense when scoring in transition. And I think that's really where it comes from. If their defense doesn't come out strong right away, I think and there's a lack of effort kind of there on the defensive end. I think that's where you see them in close games to the end, and then they lose it towards the end and aren't able to come out on top when they're playing from behind like that.
I think you see it. Excuse me. I think you see it every time when their highs are high. Like Del State, that opening game of the year, when they're high, they're very high.
Del State's also not very good.
Yeah.
Not trying to take away anything from Diane's team, but yeah, that was I mean, that was impressive though. That nonetheless, like they put up some insane numbers in that game.
My point was like when they're confident,
Mm-hmm.
then everything is there. They're clicking, whether it's shooting, defending, rebounding. When their confidence is high, they're good. When they come out and they might miss a couple shots, or the other team, their opponent, will come out and make a couple threes, or get some easy shots at the rim, or just shots that fall that might not fall all the time, and their confidence starts to dwindle, the effort starts to dwindle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really because I don't think that they're over that hump yet until they can play with 100% confidence all the time, no matter if they're making shots or missing shots.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they don't necessarily shoot the ball well.
Mm-hmm.
And until they can start shooting, 45% from the field consistently, I don't know if it's going to matter if they do all those little things well, and if they play with the effort that we see them play with, if they can't make shots.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I've seen is, like you mentioned, their inability to shoot well consistently. When they're able to shoot the 3-ball well early in the game and get ahead, I think that's the biggest thing. Like in their most recent game, I mean, Terriana Gary went 4 for 4 from 3 in the first quarter and instantly propelled them into the lead. They were able to play with it and play their normal game. I think teams have started to come out in 2-3 zones against Temple because they're not really able to shoot the 3-ball well, so they'll play off and let them shoot from the outside. But then when they shoot well and the teams have to change their defense, that's when Temple can kind of pounce on them and play their game.
Haven't we seen some games where, I mean, that's obviously if any team comes out of the gate shooting well, that's great. The coach loves it, the players love it, but they're doing well in some categories that would be like effort categories that would get you over the hump on nights when you don't shoot it well, like offensive rebounding, like just, corralling those misses, taking care of the ball and stuff like that. And on some nights it translates where they haven't shot well, and some nights it doesn't.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think the thing with that is the kind of Ramir mentioned it. The touch around the rim has not been good, even though they're getting those offensive rebounds. I think they're either going back up and it's not going in, or they'll kick it out and they don't score after. So I think it's converting those offensive rebounds and second chances into points, and I think that's where you'll see it turn around if they're able to do that and shoot well from like around the rim.
All right, shifting over to football real quick before we jump into the mailbag here to close things out. Davray Vanu, an offensive lineman from Montreal, committed. Signing day is next Wednesday, February 7th, the February signing period. So we'll have more for you next week. Quite a few players are expected to sign next week with the Owls. So again, they've continued to be busy in the portal to try to find, in this case, some help on the offensive line. We'll jump into the mailbag here. First question here from Temple fan Al. His question is, are all the transfers who committed on campus now? So again, as Kyle mentioned on our message board, shameless plug for the OwlScoop Scholarship Board. If you're an OwlScoop subscriber, you can get a sense of every single player who's on scholarship right now and all the players who have enrolled as mid-year enrollees. So I would encourage everybody to check that out. Most, I would say, are on campus for spring ball, but still awaiting some confirmation on that. But you can head over to the OwlScoop.com football message board, and you can check out the scholarship board to see how many scholarships have been used up and who's in as a mid-year enrollee. Next question from DBlaze75. Again, these are screen names from OwlScoop subscribers. For basketball, does Temple win more than 3 games next? Oh, sorry, for football, excuse me. Does Temple win more than 3 games next season? If not, is Stan Drayton the coach in 2025?
I have a lot to say about this topic.
Let me run down the schedule real quick. And again, we're doing this in late January, just for context, for records. Okay, non-conference schedule next year is Oklahoma. They went 10-3 this year. Coastal Carolina 8-5 this year. Utah State 6-7, and UConn 3-9. Then Temple's going to host Army, which went 6-6. They're going to host Florida Atlantic, which went 4-8. They're going to host North Texas, which went 5-7. They're going to host Tulsa, which went 4-8. They're going to play on the road at ECU. They went 2-10. Navy was 5-7. UTSA was 9-4 this year. No more Frank Harris for them. Frank Harris is calling it quits. What's that?
Or Trey Moore.
Yeah. So a very, 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 very good defensive player. And Tulane on the road, 11-3. So the schedule, again, it's kind of just for context and reference. There's been no spring ball yet, no preseason camp, no real read on any of these true freshmen who are coming into these programs. But does Temple win with that as a background and all the stuff that we know about the program that we've been talking about? Does Temple win more than 3 games next season? And if not, is Stan Drayton the head coach in 2025? We'll start with Ramir.
No, I don't think they win more than 3 games, simply because I've been saying this since, all the transfers, pretty much since EJ transferred. Every year they get worse. Every year Stan has been here, they have gotten worse. They have lost their core players, whether it was, holdovers from Rod Carey's era or the main guys, the single digits that come in or that earned the guys that earned single digits throughout Stan's tenure. They've all left. The only one that's left is Ian Stewart. He's the only one who's around, and Ian Stewart hasn't really played Temple in a Temple uniform all that often since he's gotten here. The team, like I said, the team every year has gotten worse. Their offensive line has gotten worse with guys either, transferring like Victor Stoffel or leaving and going to the draft or, just graduating. And their best players. If you look at Temple's roster last year and compare it to what it is right now, arguably their top 10 to 15 players have left the program. I don't see how you replace those guys with granted, they were good whether they were at, the Division II level or if it was FCS or JUCO. Like, they were good where they were at, but they have no experience at a D1 FBS, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, a D1 FBS program. So you have a bunch of unknown commodities, and even Evan Simon, who transferred from Rutgers, that's a Big Ten school, but he didn't look great when he played. Mm-hmm. So you have a bunch of unknowns. You have a bunch of guys who still like. It's kind of like Adam Fisher in his first year. Like, these guys never played together. These guys coming from all over. It's kind of like the same thing. I don't expect them to be able to put it together with the limited amount of talent that they have. And as much as I want to say, like, I think Stan should be back after that, it granted, it depends on, when Temple gets a new president.
Yep.
And whether or not that president decides to keep Arthur Johnson, and if, even if they do keep Arthur Johnson, and does he think is enough? And is he willing to give Stan another year? I don't think it's Stan's fault. Mm-hmm. Like I said, because all of his best players have left since he's been here. Like, I feel like the roster has gotten worse every year. It's hard to say now because, you don't know what these teams are or this team is yet. But it's hard to say that they'll win more than 3 games this year simply based off the fact that the talent that they have has pretty much been depleted, and there's a bunch of unknowns.
Declan?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo what Ramir was saying, the best quarterback in your program history just transferred to Rice. Like, argue with the wall. Look at the numbers. It's true. This year was their best chance at a dominant sort of Stan Drayton year. They had not all of the pieces on defense, obviously, but like Ramir said, they did improve from the first season in terms of they got more depth, especially in the secondary, but they still couldn't put the pieces together with that. The offense, they had more weapons. They couldn't put the pieces together. They couldn't protect DJ on the offensive line. The defensive line just kept getting hurt. And now, a lot of those best players that showed out last year are gone. And now you got to basically, for all intents and purposes, you're starting it at square one all over again. It's going to be tough to say. First of all, you look at that non-conference schedule. They're not winning a game in the non-conference slate. Maybe they'll win one, right? Like, realistically speaking, their 2 wins in non-conference play this year were Akron and Norfolk State. Mm-hmm. And they had all sorts of weapons on that team that could have, they were in the Rutgers game until the fourth quarter. That could have been a win. They blew it. There were a couple conference games where they were in until the end, and they blew it. I just don't think there is a lot, and we've talked about it a couple weeks ago. There are reasons to be optimistic about this program. I just don't know that it'll show in the win column. And ultimately, with the way the business is, like you said, Ramir, with the president, potentially coming in, maybe, in how history has shown us, a new athletic director probably realistically coming in. I don't think we shouldn't even talk about 2025 right now, because there's going to be so many questions in the air in 2025. It's not even funny. Mm-hmm.
But one of our loyal subscribers has asked us to talk about 2025.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's impossible to sit here right now because 2024 is going to be like a massive year for Temple in terms of lots of things are going to shift this year. Mm-hmm. And it's tough to sit here in January and be like, this is going to be the direction of the university, much less the athletic program, right? Like, who even knows? But realistically, and I like Stan a lot, he's a really cool guy. I got to do some good stories on him. I always enjoy covering him. The way the business is, he's probably gone in 2025. Like, that's the reality of college football these days. Like, there's only so much time you get.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with both of you, but I guess it's kind of hard to play devil's advocate after that argument there, Declan. But I think just to kind of there's a lot of, like you mentioned, there's a lot of JUCO guys. There's a lot of people that are playing, that have something to play for. This could be their last opportunity. And I think maybe there's a couple that stand out. Maybe there's a couple that make a big play and get you a win, like a Tywan Francis getting that game-sealing interception or something like that, where you're in a close game and they make a play. I don't think that gets you to more than 3 wins, but I think maybe you can get like Declan mentioned, maybe you can get 2, maybe you can get 3 again. But I don't see with the way the roster is right now, with losing 10 to 15 of your top players that like Ramir mentioned, it's hard to see a way with the schedule that you mentioned, John, that they find a way to win more than 3, and then like everything that Declan mentioned, I don't see a way that Stan Drayton's here at all in 2025.
I am going to play devil's advocate. Of course, we can't predict what's going to happen in 2025, and we're sitting here recording on January 30th. But on January 30th, I'm going to tell you that Temple will win. I'm just going to write down the schedule. Super, super, super early look. They lose at Oklahoma. They lose to Coastal. They lose to Utah State. They beat UConn for win number 1. They beat Army for win number 2. They beat Florida Atlantic for win number 3. They lose to North Texas. They beat Tulsa, and they beat ECU. And I might give them Navy for a 6th win. I think they win 5 games. I'll give them 5. They're not beating UTSA. They're certainly not beating Tulane on the road. I think they can win 5 games. I think even if they win 4 games, I think they win more than 3. And I do think, again, you guys have made the obvious point that Temple will have a new president. What the domino effects are administratively after that, I don't know. But let's say, for argument's sake, and I'm not trying to wish this upon Arthur Johnson, but let's say we're playing the scenario, if there is a new athletic director, I think a new athletic director might come in and give Stan Drayton another year to say, let me see if I can work with this guy. Let me see if I can support him in ways that he wasn't supported before. Now, I think if they take a huge step backward next year and they're 1-11, I think all bets are off. I think that they're going to win 4, maybe 5 games next year. Again, talk to me at the end of spring ball, but we'll see.
I mean, we sat here in March and said that team was going to a bowl game. And now we admitted a couple weeks ago.
That was off the record. None of that made it to the
it was actually on the show.
It was very much on the show. That was off the record.
And then we sat here a couple weeks ago and said this team, roster-wise, has taken a step back. Like, I see your line of processing in that all of those teams you mentioned were also bad. Like, no question about it. But, like, I don't know. Like, I can't sit here in good conscience and say this is going to happen, you know?
In Army and Navy, you have 2 service academies who play a certain style no matter who the coach is, no matter who the personnel is. I don't want to say they are super easy to game plan for.
They're easier.
But they're easier to game plan for.
Yeah.
And I think they have some other winnable games on the schedule, as always.
Are they at the link or away from the link?
They host Army. They play at Navy.
Yeah, they'll probably lose the Navy.
I wish it was the other way around. I wish they were playing up at Army. I would like to
see West Point, but I am excited to go to Annapolis. I'm not even gonna lie.
I wouldn't want you to lie.
Well, you know I wouldn't lie to you.
Great song by the Eurythmics. Would I lie to you?
Oh, that's a good song.
80s
I wouldn't lie to these people as well listening to the podcast.
Next question here of the basketball nature from Temple J is the screen name. Do you see Zion Stanford fitting into Adam Fisher's system? So we know that Zion played a pretty good non-conference portion of the season, and we know that he didn't play in a couple of games. Adam Fisher has said, you need to adjust this level of competition. Barely played the other night. I don't know that Adam Fisher really has too much of a system. I know people get super, super stuck on the fact that he says, I want to shoot a lot of threes, and then he'll joke around and say, we're not shooting twos all that well either. Yes, I think he fits whatever system Adam Fisher wants to utilize. I think maybe the only type of player that may not fit his system, so to speak, is I think Adam Fisher likes to use his bigs in a way where they can play in space, they set screens, they can spread the floor. But even then, like, had Jameel Reynolds decided to stay, and had he been healthy and had he stayed in pretty good shape, I still think Adam Fisher would have been like, I can use a 6'10" big man who can play with his back to the back to the basket. Even if we play some possessions where we work inside out, I still think he would take him. So yes, I could see Zion Stanford fitting into Adam Fisher's system. I think he is very much hitting a wall as a freshman in terms of learning how to be tough, how to work through practices, how to just get around more film. As Adam said, there's more film of him out there. But I do think he has the skill. I think he has the ability. We'll see if he gets there. But yes, I think he fits into his system. You guys have any other thoughts on that?
No, I think you just got to remember, like, he's a freshman. Like, there's gonna be a learning curve. Almost always with freshmen, there's gonna be a learning curve. I get the frustration of you had a great non-conference slate, and you want to see him playing more and maybe trying to figure it out on the floor. But I think Adam is trying to kind of take it slow with him and kind of let him learn.
No, he's also a freshman, and the big thing with the American, and they've said it, for years now, is how physical the conference is, right? So I think we've seen that as well. I mean, he was playing, he was getting in the mid-range a lot in non-conference play and, like, getting toward the basket. And, you just can't do that in conference play these days. We've seen Jordan Riley adapt to it really well, but, Zion, for whatever reason, had really struggled with that. So I think it's the style of play has changed specifically from that time that he was really thriving.
Jordan Riley also played a couple seasons in the Big East.
Oh, and he's athletic as all get out.
Yeah,
he
and
could just jump.
He's a high major athlete. And I'm not saying that I think, well, I'll say this. I think Zion Stanford pleasantly surprised some people. Again, he was a very good he was a solid player at West Catholic who continued to get better for a program that continued to get better.
Yeah.
I think that he had even more of an impact in November and December than people thought he might. And yes, it's not uncommon. I know someone's going to say, oh, don't give me, he's just a freshman. Plenty of freshmen come in, play really well right away. Get that. We'll see. I think it just has as much of as anything else. I think it has as much to do with the fact that, yeah, I think Adam said it. Like, hey, you got to learn how to practice better, work harder. Again, there's more film of you out there. And yeah, it is for a guy like him who can be a wing guard but wants to drive in. It's a more physical league. There was somebody talking about this on our message boards. People were contesting back and forth, like, does the Temple should have won that game? Where's the level of talent? Like, ECU has a more talented roster right now. I know that's more subjective than anything, but driving in, and again, he did it against some teams like St. Joe's. I think the ability's there, but I still think that Zion Stanford has a lot to learn. Doesn't mean that he won't learn it, but I think this is very much an important stretch for him to learn. Stay patient. And it's tough. That's something that I talked to Jahlil White about in our interview. Like, how do you stay together when you've lost 6 in a row? What does that look like? How do you stay together, stick together when Adam Fisher says that? Stick together. Easier said than done, but he's one of the guys among everyone else on that roster that has to kind of just get through the stretch that they're in right now, however long it's going to last.
You also have to remember, like, offensively, he's the same player right now as Jahlil White is. They play when they go zone. When teams go zone, they play in the middle. They both play in the middle. They're both the same type of offensive player. Whereas downhill doesn't really have a great outside shot. Can hit the mid range occasionally, and it's very much downhill. Get to the rim. They're the same player offensively, and it's hard to have those two type of guys on the floor at the same time. And it's conference play, so lineups shrink anyway. Or rotation shrink
that's a
anyway.
good point.
So if Ja is going to be out on the floor 30 minutes a night, then that only leaves, 10 for Zion? And not to mention he's been hurt.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account. And there's just been guys who have been more consistent. So it's kind of hard to see him on the floor right now.
Well, and Zion just doesn't give you what Ja gives you on defense, too.
Yes.
Like, regardless of the offensive end. So when you put it like that, like, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Sticking with basketball, Temple fan Al, 10 games left in the season, over/under on 3 wins. You taking the over or the under on 3 wins? So let's look at the rest of the season here.
That's a brutal question.
It's a brutal question.
That's a brutal question.
Not one that fans, even if you had Temple as a team that wasn't going to the NCAA tournament, yeah, tough question. So the remaining 10 games, this Sunday, the Owls are at Tulane. Then 4 days later, they host Memphis at the Liacouras Center. Then they host Charlotte 3 days later, a very good Charlotte team that's coming to the American, playing well at the Liacouras Center. Then they're at FAU. Then they're at UTSA after that. Oh, no, excuse me. They're at FAU. They host UTSA on February 18th. Then they go to Wichita State on February 25th. They play at Rice on February 28th. They host Tulsa on March 2nd. They host UAB on March 7th. And then they finish up at UTSA on March 10th. So let's do this. We'll go right down the line here and see if we can come up with 3 wins.
I'm not going to lie. I counted exactly 3 as you were saying it.
Okay.
But let's see.
At Tulane this Sunday, but rapid fire, Johnny, win or loss?
L.
Loss.
Loss.
Declan?
Loss.
Loss. Ramir? Loss. Yeah, I think they lose Sunday. February 8th, Memphis at the Leocore Center.
Let's get that one.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
It's the whiteout, though.
Yeah.
Nick Jordan game.
Yeah, the Nick Jordan game. Could be a good
Jordangerous.
atmosphere. Should be a good atmosphere. Memphis has had some blind spots. They've had some moments of weaknesses, but they're a very talented team. I think we all have that as a loss.
They're a very talented team with a chip on their shoulder now. Looking over their back at conference opponents because they've lost 3 times this year.
Yeah. Charlotte at the Leocore Center, February 11th.
That's probably the bad loss, I would say.
Yeah. Charlotte, we all have that as a loss. So right now we don't have a win yet. At FAU, coming off a Final Four appearance, February 15th.
Move to the next one. That's another loss.
Loss at FAU. February 18th, Sunday against UTSA. I'm going to say they're going to win this game.
I said the same thing.
I'll give them a win.
I said the same thing. They split with UTSA.
They're going to break their losing streak. At that point, it'll be what? 10 games?
10 games.
10 or
Yeah,
11,
so they've lost 6 in a row. If they lose to Tulane, that's 7. They lose to Memphis, that's 8. Lose to Charlotte, that's 9. Yeah, that's tough. Like, they could be looking at a 10-game losing streak. And when Adam Fisher says we got to stick together. A 10-game losing streak is a 10-game losing streak. That's gonna be tough. So we all have UTSA as a win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bounce back.
February 25th at Wichita State. Johnny.
It's so tough. I'm going to say win. I'm going to be optimistic there. They both only have 1 win in conference play right now. So
I think it's a loss because it's a road game.
I agree.
They struggle on the road.
I'm going to give it to the home team.
I'm giving them a win at Wichita State. February 28th, the all-important revenge game at Rice.
Loss.
Wow.
I don't know. They should have won that Rice game. I think that they'll play with a chip on their sholler. And I'm going to say win.
I'll give them a win.
I'm going to say win.
I'm giving them a win at that game too. I think they get on a little bit of a. I'm gonna say they get on a little bit of a mini roll here.
I hope so. Like I'm not swayed in my. I do think it's a loss. I think it's a close loss though, and I think it's because they have some momentum after that win that we just predicted. But I don't know. I think Rice figured them out in that game, and yes, they did choke it away, but I think Rice figured them out in that final stretch.
Well, I think a lot of teams figure them out. They don't have a ton of. They don't have a ton.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
They
saying.
don't have a ton of great shooters.
That's my point.
Close out on Piccarelli.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, all right. Tulsa at the Leocore Center, March 2nd.
Loss.
I don't know.
I'll say I'm being optimistic here again. I'll say win.
I'm giving them a win. I think they go on a 4-game winning streak. They beat UTSA, they beat Wichita State, they beat Rice, and they beat Tulsa.
It's so hard to say because
join the party of positivity over here.
Come on, Ramir.
We've got some
you know
dip.
how I feel
We've
about
got,
negativity.
we've got
Hop
some
on the train,
snacks.
Ramir. Hop on.
We splurged for some Carlinos and some De Bruno brothers. We've got some good snacks at the party of positivity over here.
We got spread 0, Ramir.
See,
What is
while that sounds nice,
Well, that sounds nice.
I'm a realist at the end of the day, and it's hard. You look at those teams and you be like, okay, yeah, they're bad, but Temple is also bad. So it's kind of like
Come to the
you be like,
negative
yeah,
train.
they should be able to beat them.
I'm still stuck on. Well, that sounds nice.
Come to the negative train.
I can
We go
can't-
5
can't you-
miles
can't
an
you
hour
see
and serve
Ramir?
Salad Works.
Can you see Ramir like dipping his head in like this looks like a nice spread? Give me a chip. Give me just. I can't stay. I'm
go.
so sorry.
Come
Thank
to
you
the
so
negative
much.
train, baby. We serve Salad Works. We go 5 miles an hour, always running late. It's perfect.
Ramir, we got Sprite 0.
Wait. This is the negativity train. You serve Salad Works. You go 5 miles per hour,
And we're always late.
and you're always late.
Sometimes
And if
we skip
that
stops.
train doesn't have a bathroom, that is my personal hell.
Sometimes we skip stops just
Yeah.
randomly.
Yeah,
Always let you down.
yeah.
I can't. I'm sorry. I can't.
Well, I'm aboard, brother.
It's hard. It's hard to say that they're going to beat a team when they're also bad. So I just don't. I don't see it. And I'm truly sticking by they're going to win 10 games this year, and I already got them at 10 with them beating UTSA and I think it was Wichita State. So
UAB at the Leocore Center, March 7th on Thursday. That's an ESPN2 game.
Wow.
But please tell me why Temple should go back to the A10. You know.
All right, big fella.
Sorry, that wasn't really
Talk
directed
your
at
trash. Talk your trash. Let's go.
you. UAB, March 7th at home. Johnny.
Loss.
I agree.
I mean, they got losses from me here on out to stay with my prediction. So
Do we even ask you?
probably not.
Ooh.
Well,
That's
he's
crazy.
going to call it a loss from here on
That's
out.
crazy.
Well, I was more
Sounds
saying,
like Johnny's
he
coming
can-
on the negativity train.
Well, I was more saying
Johnny's
he-
the conductor. And he's got a mustache. All right, so to review before we move on here, Declan's at a push.
Yep.
Johnny and I will take the over. Premier
Under.
definitely taking the under. Does not want to come to our positivity
I know.
party.
I'm
Choo-choo,
disappointed.
baby.
Dips in for
Standing
some
on
spinach dip.
Staying on business.
Stand on
He
business.
dips in for some spinach dip.
I think we should have offered the
Get some kisses from
the
Bear
red
and
fruit
CC.
snacks. The red fruit snacks.
Yeah, what
Then-
if we have
then-
red fruit snacks?
Yeah, that's right. We only have the blue ones, so
Oh, Ramir's gonna have to change his mind.
that's the point. That's the point of the negativity train.
That's funny.
Final question to close us out here from Off the Hook 3 on Twitter, another one of our loyal listeners. Two-part question. Looking back at some of the guests you've had on the Scoop, which guest was your favorite? And number two, is there someone you were dying to have on? I'll send this over to you guys. In the modern era of the Scoop, in which you guys have been working on the show here, do you have a favorite guest? I think I know what your answer is going to be.
Mine?
Yeah, all of you.
Oh.
There is a clear number one, but there are a couple honorable mentions that I'll throw out there
yes.
too.
I think we both have the clear number one.
You want to say it on three?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Diane
Richardson.
Yes.
Yay.
That's easily number one.
We
The
did it.
most downloaded episode of the Scoop of all time.
Wow.
Higher than any pod that we have done. There are a couple of things that drive subscriptions, readership numbers, engagement, all that stuff.
Take notes, those of you at home.
Yes, thank you, Declan. Recruiting coverage, coaching changes, stuff like that. That typically drives things. We got a lot of numbers, a lot of downloads when Aaron McKee and Temple parted ways, when they hired Adam Fisher. Those two podcasts, those 2 and 3 around that stretch performed really well for us. The Diane Richardson pod, most downloaded episode of all time of the Scoop, which speaks to, I think, just the quality of the conversation with her. She was awesome. They also shared the hell out of that pod, which was very much appreciated. But yeah, she was incredible.
I mean,
She's
she
a
is.
great conversation. Like that, I think Declan said it last week. We try our best to be fair and objective, but she's an easy person to root for. Doesn't mean we're
100%.
standing up on press row, clapping our hands, and
I told them before, I'm all for journalistic integrity, except for when it comes to Diane Richardson. I just love her that much.
yeah, she's easy person to root
Throw
for.
away my career.
I'm throwing away my career for Diane Richardson.
But there were definitely a couple honorable mentions. I mean, our conversation with Taiwan Francis was
Yeah.
awesome too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That really sticks out. Jordan McGee as well. That conversation that I believe you guys had,
With
where it was
Jordan
Jordan Yavandi, and then Ed Sadie, I believe, popped in as well.
We were
He
supposed
did
to
not.
get
We're
Ed
supposed to get
Sadie.
Sadie together.
Oh, okay, my fault.
That's my number one, simply because I wasn't here for the Diane Richardson one.
Yeah, and then when John and I talked to Victor Stoffel this summer, that was really fun too.
Yeah.
We got to talk about IKEA and Swedish meatballs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I would say, well, for me, the Diane episode is up there. I thought it was a lot of fun to talk to Joe Klecko. And this tells you, this goes to show you like what people engage with and what people don't, like age groups and stuff. You talk to a guy who is about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and the Joe Klecko episode didn't have as many episodes as the Diane Richardson episode. But, I enjoyed the conversation. It was really fun. I mean, like, I heard about Joe growing up because my mom grew up in Chester with her 2 brothers, my uncles. My grandparents lived there for a fair amount of time. My uncles went to St. James. I think they were a couple years older than Joe. And when he got to the NFL, they told me a little bit about his story. This is great. This is awesome for Chester. So it was really cool to be able to talk to him. I would say any episode I've done with Kevin Nagandi, it's always fun to have him on. Having my buddy Andrew Goldstein on, who's been in a bunch of different comedy writing positions because he intersects with Temple sports and comedy.
Underrated. I liked maybe just because I like him, but when Jeff Nyberg came on, we had some good times.
We'll vote for Jeff Nyberg.
We had some good
That was
times
fun.
on that conversation.
He'll appreciate that. We'll have to ask this to Kyle
Oh,
next week because he'll have he's
Kyle's good
he's
interview.
got a photographic memory. Is there someone you are dying to have on? Let's have fun with this to close things out. Like, let's go big with this and think of how you would, even if it's not a Temple person, someone you're dying to have on where you could maybe ask them a couple of Temple-related questions.
I don't want to. I'm gonna take the cop out. Well, it's not really a cop out answer, and it'd be very, very difficult to have this person on. But I would love to have a conversation with John Chaney.
Well, of course, yeah. It would be very, very difficult.
I think
Yeah, it
I
would
think
be.
very difficult. Maybe it doesn't put it into words there. Ramir.
Oh boy.
If we can somehow
Channel him in
have
from
a
heaven.
Hey, if you have any ideas,
supernatural conversation with John.
That
Chaney.
would be.
drop it in the mailbag.
Look, if
next
we don't
week.
get if
you have
that's
any
if that's not a
ideas-
heavily downloaded episode, I don't know what will be.
that better be number one.
That would
right
get
away.
worldwide coverage. Philadelphia-based podcasts.
tweet at Ryan
Philadelphia-based podcast interviews John Chaney from the heavens.
Anybody, if you're listening out there and you have ideas on like reincarnation, send them to Ramir.
Please.
Well, they have those like ghost apps where you can talk, where they talk to you. What do you think that would work?
We should bring a medium on and have them.
Talking to a medium and connecting with John Chaney through a medium would be wild.
That'd be sweet.
Would be absolutely wild.
my
That would be the
dream.
top episode of all time. Just
Ever.
Full stop.
Ever.
full stop. Period.
Full stop.
I do. I think we might have played a clip or two of John Chaney on the scoop the day that Aaron was hired, but by no means did we have him for a one-on-one. Yes, I do. I wish with every fiber of my being that you guys could have interviewed him. He was just incredible. But yeah, that would certainly be a must listen if we could interview him from the grave. All right, let's take a beat there and center ourselves
gonna be
again.
hard to
As
top that
wonderful as it would be to interview John Chaney.
It's gonna be difficult to
In the
top that
heavens,
answer.
yes.
I'm not gonna lie. But tying back to, I have actually two answers. So, my more serious answer, I would love to have Dawn Staley on.
Oh yeah,
That would be incredible,
Yes.
just to talk about like her time at Temple and how that translated.
very
beyond.
good one.
I think that would probably get a lot of listens as well. But I would love to talk to her. And then
Speaking of doing a posthumous interview, if we could talk to Dave O'Brien, God rest his soul, the former Temple athletic director who hired her and convinced her to get into coaching. Dave's no longer with us. Dave passed away several years ago. He was the Temple athletic director who went to her and convinced her to get into coaching.
Yeah,
So
that's
Dave
really
Dave
cool.
was a very, very kind human being. But yeah, Dawn Staley would be incredible.
Yeah, and then for our more avid listeners of the scoop, you'll understand this answer from some of the episodes we did over the summer. But I'm bringing on Bigfoot. We're having some conversations with Bigfoot.
Where have you been?
we're
over
hashing
years?
out. We're hashing it out. Can we get Bigfoot into Temple marketing?
That's the funny thing about podcasting, and I talk about this in classes. Like, you never know what sort of gimmicky, funny thing is going to latch on with people, and people love that.
People love the Bigfoot conversation. It's hard not to. Bigfoot. Just picturing him walking around cherry and white. Just
Got that red on.
Yeah, walking out of the student center, heading up, Main Chorus Walk, just chilling, high-fiving people, getting out there, going, T for W.
Hiding behind trees on Leochorus Walk. Like,
You gotta get him on the court.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got to
We
be.
talked about that as well.
Yeah.
We'd have to get him at least his GED, I believe. That's doable.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
doable.
just pass it. We'll just have him pass a test, right? It's just you could just pass a test.
Yeah,
to
that's
get
how
it,
the
right?
GED works. Yeah, we just,
Well, I'm just
make
saying,
sure.
like, I was working towards saying just like scam it so that he can pass.
Yes, that's how a GED works. Oh, God, that was funny. That was pretty good.
What's your answer, Johnny?
Did you guys ever see Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf?
with Michael J. Fox, the movie.
No, I've never.
Yeah, he like becomes a wolf, becomes a werewolf, and he becomes a very good basketball player. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, good for him. You ever seen Luck of the Irish?
Good for him.
The kid becomes a leprechaun and becomes a good basketball player.
No, I did not see
That's a
that.
good one too.
You're doing very well filling the Kyle role this
Thank
week.
you.
Very
Thank you.
good for. Did you say good for him? Or
Yes, good for him. That's
Oh
awesome.
my lord.
any other dream guests?
I mean, I know, I'm sure you've all, talked to him or had him on before. Fran Dunphy, I know he's had. He tells a lot of good stories. I feel like he'd be a cool guy to talk to. Just sit down and just talk with his time at Temple and just the stories he has. I don't have a funny one like Bigfoot. Talking to the dead with John Chaney.
Bigfoot and Fran Dunphy on the pod this
What a
week,
radio.
live from LaSalle.
What a radio hour. Just have
Yeah.
Bigfoot and Fran Dunphy on CBS radio.
Bigfoot, great to be with you. Appreciate the question. That's very kind of you to say. Yeah, he would be very nice to him.
I bet.
But yeah, I don't have a funny one. So,
That's-
what about you, John?
Allen Iverson talking about playing with Aaron McKee.
That'd be sick.
Dawn Staley would be a good one. I would love to sit down with Darryl Hall and John Oates and maybe be the peacekeepers and say,
Yeah,
hey,
good luck with that.
you guys aren't on great terms right now. Let's come back home. Come home. Remember what brought you guys together. The love of and the passion of the Philly music scene in North Philadelphia. You guys sit down and iron out your differences on the scoop.
I bet you'd have some private eyes watching that. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, say that again.
Private eyes are watching you, and they're listening to the scoop.
That's very good. That was very, very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Little shout out to Molly Fisk, our features editor
Yes.
at the Temple News, who
Go
has a
read
story
that.
out this week on. It's really basically an explainer on the lawsuit.
Very good story. Very good
Yeah,
story.
good story if you want to check it out.
Yeah, very sad.
Maybe bring Jason Kelsey on and say, hey, you played
be
Cincinnati.
What's your Temple? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ask
that
him
works, that works.
some American Athletic Conference questions, something along those lines.
Oh, duh. Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
Oh,
We have
yeah.
not had, I've interviewed Hassan a bunch of times before. I don't think we've had him on the scoop.
Regardless,
We
having
need
him
Brandon
back on.
McMahon.
We've had
Manus.
PJ Walker on.
Brady McManus, bring
Talk
him on.
to, I can't, well, we used to,
Interrogate him.
McManus used to be our intro before we went to Dion.
That was a good call.
Oh, friend of the
get-
show.
Dion.
Come on.
We'll get Brandon McManus on. I don't know that we've had Sean Bradley on for a one-on-one. I have to go back. I gotta go. I did not prepare
like
for
we
this
gotta
one
reach
as
out.
much as, yeah.
We have some people to reach out to.
Yeah.
Sounds
But I
like.
like this question off the hook 3. Appreciate it.
Especially in the summer when you have less structure and you can just have these conversations.
Whereas
with
this
people.
podcast was super structured.
No, but you get what I'm saying. We don't. We talk about summer ball for a little
we
bit.
were rigid taskmasters this week.
but
Too much structure this week.
and it gives them more time as well that
Yes.
they can just sit back and talk with us. So
Yeah. Well,
you know.
appreciate all the mailbag questions. We'll be back with you guys next week. Maybe if Kyle's back with us next week, we'll ask him about his favorite podcast guest in the past and maybe somebody he would be eager to have on the show or dying to have on the show.
And our Justice League comparisons too. We got to debrief.
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you all for joining us again on The Scoop. We will talk to you soon.